So in our previous clip, we adjusted the overall lighting of our scene. Now let's just balance the colors. So we have a render that has a lot of artificial light turned on, and we made sure that all these different artificial lights were warm. So it's normal that we have a scene that's too yellowish, and it's completely fine, but we need to balance this out here because, like I said in the beginning of the course, what we're looking for here is a balance between warm and cold. It's that balance that's going to give us harmony in this render. So we're going to add a few adjustment layers and play with them. So I'm going to add a first adjustment layer here. And we have a lot of different layers here. You can play with the light a little further with curves or levels. Sometimes you can get some nice tweakings through here. You can add more contrast or maybe play with this a little bit more. Okay, I was happy with my earlier results, so I'm not going to use this, but just so you can see what you can do still with your image, you can still play with it a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to remove this. And let's add another adjustment layer. I'm going to play with the color balance first. So I'm going to add this, and what we can do here is just try to balance all this yellow. So let's try to remove some of the warm colors just a little bit. We don't want to overdo it, but the scene was too yellowish. So we need to fix that. Just trying to balance this out as much as you can. You have to do this a couple of times. It's normal because if you're new to this, it can be a little bit hard to see the difference. So take your time, just tweak as much as you can. You can turn off and turn on to see before and after, so it's easier for you to control where you're getting at. And just try to get there. So this is pretty good. We removed most of the yellowish from this. And here's a cool trick. Since we have the wire color, we can add adjustment layers and fix specific parts of our render. For instance, I want to play with the grass a little bit. So I'm going to grab my magic wand. I'm going to switch to the add mode, and I'm just going to grab both of these. I'm going to go back to the base, and I'm going to add a curves. And since I had a selection, the curves will only do effect on the grass. So let me disable the wire color, and now let's try to play with this a little bit. So you can see we can get our grass to look more interesting. It was way too dark. Okay, don't overdo it because it will look a little unrealistic, and it's okay that it looks a little unrealistic. Just don't overdo it too much because otherwise it's going to call too much attention. It will be way too visible, all the adjustments that you did. But you know, just try to give a little light and a little life to this grass. It looks a little better. So you can do this with everything that you feel you can kind of tweak. For instance, I would like my door to be a little more expressive, so I'm going to select it, and also I'm going to add a curves. Let me move this down, disable the wire color, and let's just try to add some contrast here because it was falling flat and I don't really like it that way. So, you know, just a little bit more contrast here. Try not to overdo it. And as you can see, we just gave a new light to our door. So you can use the wire color to make different changes to each and every single little piece of your render that you're not quite happy with. So Just do this a couple of times until you're happy and satisfied with it. I'm going to add a photo filter because I really like to add photo filters to every render of mine. So I'm going to add a photo filter here. And I want it to be a cool filter, something like that. Not as expressive, of course. And then now that we have this filter, maybe go back to the balance and maybe add a little bit of yellow to this and reds. Now that we have this balance here, just try to balance everything out. And once we're done with that, we're ready to add our background. So we already have this removed. If you don't have this removed, just go to your watercolor, select it and delete it. And let's open the image right now. So I have a few images like I told you before from pexels.com. I got these two images here. I'm going to try both of them out and see which one looks best. So just open them, Ctrl A to select everything, Ctrl C to copy, switch back, Ctrl V to paste, and then I can move it down and see how it looks. So this one, well, we're going to have to increase the size of this quite a bit, which is not always a good idea, but let's see how it looks when we do that. And I'm going to try to move this to the side like this and press enter. Looks good, looks interesting, but let's try the other one. Ctrl A, Ctrl C, switch back, Ctrl V. If you don't like the size, Ctrl T, and then you can just hold Shift and do the scaling that you need. So this one looks a little better, huh? But actually, I think I like the second one best. Whichever one you choose is fine. Just choose one. And as you can see, we have a little pixel problem. This is very normal in Max. Every time you're going to have to remove one pixel of the image so you don't have these ghosts that we see here. Okay, so this is pretty normal. You have to do this every single time. So let's remove this ghost here. In order for us to remove this ghost is pretty simple. I'm going to hold Ctrl, click on my image thumbnail, and that will give me this selection. Let me select the layer. In here, I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Contract, and I'm just going to contract this by 1 pixel. Click OK. Now that we have this, we have to invert the selection because we actually want the pixel that we left out. So Ctrl Shift I, we inverted the selection, make sure that you have the proper layer, and then you can press delete. Once you've done that, Ctrl D to remove the selection, and there you go. We removed the line of pixel. Let me hide the base so we can better see. There you go. So we no longer have that little phantom. Okay, so this is very useful, very quick, and very important. So this concludes this post-production. We don't want to do anything fancy. You can continue to add adjustment layers and play with what you have, but this is pretty much the basic post-production that I wanted you to see. I hope you enjoyed this course, and I hope you see you guys soon in another course.